Hi guys, welcome to part 1 of either the wizard doll or the gnome. There are introduction videos for each of the dolls here on my YouTube channel. So if you're making the wizard and you haven't watched the introduction, or you're making the gnome and you haven't watched that introduction, both of those videos are here on YouTube. Just click that little circle that's popping up on your screen, and the introduction I tell you what kind of yarn I'm using and the hook size and all that other great information. Both of them have the same head pattern. In this video I'm going to show you how to do most of the head. We're going to start at row 1, ending at row 11. I'm also going to show you how to install safety eyes. That is towards the end of this video. If you don't have safety eyes, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how to add in yarn eyes after the doll has been stuffed and all put together. Then we're going to work on some face details. So if you don't have safety eyes, don't worry about it. If you don't need help with any of the crocheted rows, then of course you'll just refer to the written pattern. This can be printed off for free on my blog. The link is in the description box below. You can also find the link by clicking that little circle that's popping up on your screen. My videos are geared towards the beginner, so even if you haven't crocheted before or made amigurumi toys before, I'm hoping you'll give it a try because I don't leave anything out. Alright guys, so like I said, row 1 is at the top of the head, and I am using cream colored yarn, although the first 2 rows you'll see white yarn, but that's only because I had pre-recorded those 2 rows. And just to save myself a little bit of time, I just threw those 2 clips in there, and then by row 3 you'll see the cream colored yarn again. So whatever color you're using for the skin tone of your doll, you'll grab that and you'll grab your crochet hook, and let's get started. Alright, we're going to get started with row 1, and this is at the top of the head. And this is part 1, row 1, so I'm going to go very slowly over the first few rows and then we'll pick things up a little bit faster. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get a loop with 6 stitches. This is only one method. There's other methods out there, so if this one doesn't work for you, don't give up. Just give a search on YouTube for a loop with 6 stitches in crochet. But I'll show you my favorite method. Like I said, I'm going to take the shorter yarn tail, I'm going to wrap it around these 2 fingers twice. 1, 2. I'm going to hold that tail in between my pinky and my thumb, and now I'll hold the working yarn in between my pinky and my thumb. So first thing we have to do is make a slip knot. I'm going to go through those rings and go to the back. I'm going to grab this yarn and pull it through these 2 rings. Now I have a loop on my hook. Now I'm going to grab the yarn again and pull it through that loop. And we've made our slip knot. Now we can take it off our fingers and get ready to crochet on. Now I'm making 6 single crochets into this ring. Every time I go through, I'm going to go through both rings, go to the back, grab the yarn, and pull it through the rings. And I'm going to do that 6 times. So going through the rings, going to the back, grab the yarn, pull it through the 2 rings. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. Grab the yarn again and pull it through those 2 loops. And we've just made 1 single crochet. We're going to do that 5 more times. And remember, this is a watch me tutorial, so watch what I'm doing and then pause the video and try it yourself. Going through the rings, grab the yarn, pull it through. You have 2 loops, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. And there was 2. Going through the rings. And there was 3. 4. 5. Last one. 6. Now we have 6 single crochets in the ring. I'm going to pull up my last stitch so I don't lose it, and we can count those stitches. We made single crochets, now they're called stitches on this ring. And there'll be 6 stitches. You look for the V, there's 2 loops in each stitch, and it looks like a V. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we need to close up this ring. See my starting yarn tail there is in between those loops. I'll just pull it out, get it out of the way. I'll hold that slip knot that we made first between my finger and my thumb, and now I'm going to pull up one of these strings to close up this ring. That one didn't work, so it's the next one. And I'm pulling up from my finger and my thumb. Give it a little wiggle. Now we need to get rid of this loop, so we'll pull on the yarn tail. And there's our loop with 6 stitches. So the last stitch of the next row will be underneath this big loop. You can see the V, that's the last one. And the first one is in front of this starting yarn tail, and you can see the V. When you go through the stitches, make sure you're going through both loops of the stitches each time you go through. Very easy to pick up one, so make sure you have both loops of those stitches on your hook every time you go through. Alright, so we're ready for row 2. We're going to put 2 single crochets in each one of those 6 stitches all the way around. So let's do this row together. 2 single crochets into the first stitch, push your hook through, grab your yarn and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through, and there was 1 single crochet. Now we're going to go back in the same stitch we were just in and put another one. And there was 2 single crochets in the first. Now we're going to go into the second stitch of the row, put our single crochet, go back in the same stitch, and there's our second single crochet. So that was 2 single crochets in the second stitch. Now we're going to go into the third one. One single crochet, going back in, and 2 single crochets into the fourth, one single crochet and back in, 2 single crochets, and now into the fifth, 1 single crochet and back in, 2 single crochets, and last one of the row, number 6, 1 single crochet and back in, 2 single crochets. There, we finished row 2, and now we have 12 stitches around. And we're ready to move on to row 3, but before we do, let's stop and add a marker. Just pull out that last stitch so you don't lose it. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn of a different color. I'm going to push through that last stitch that I just put in. I'm going to pull one strand of my marker through and leave the other one where it is. Just going to leave it hanging just like that. And I'm going to move that marker at the end of every row. You'll notice the starting yarn tail is just hanging there. Just leave that for now. I'll show you in a couple videos how to hide that away. A starting yarn tail needs to be hidden away or tucked away. You can't cut it up too short, because if you do, you could end up with a hole in your stuffy. So just leave it hanging for now. If it's too long, you can cut it up a bit shorter. And if you see a big gap in the middle, you can eliminate that by pulling on the starting yarn tail. So just hang on to your piece and pull on the starting yarn tail, and it will close up that gap in the middle. So let's move on to row 3. Row 3 is 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the second, and then we're going to repeat that. 1 single crochet in the first, and then 2 single crochets into the second. 1, 2, 1, 2. When you land on the marker, you should be putting in 2 single crochets. So let's do this together. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and now 2 single crochets into the second. Now we're going to repeat that. 1 in the first, and 2 single crochets into the second. Now I'm just going to speed it up because I'm just repeating the same steps, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'll show you what it looks like when we land on the marker. Alright, I've made it around, and I want to put 1 single crochet in the next, and you can see 2 is going to land on that marker, so I'll just pull it out and put in 2 single crochets. Now I'm going to move my marker, and we're finished row 3, and now we have 18 stitches around. If your piece starts to fold up on itself, you'll start working on the wrong side, so just stop and take a moment to turn it right side. So this is the right side, that's the side you want to be working on, and that's the wrong side. So if you left it, it would eventually just close right up as you're crocheting. So you want to make sure where that starting yarn tail is coming out of, that you push that inward. Now we're ready for row 4. Row 4 is 1 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet in the second, and then 2 single crochets into the third. And then we're going to repeat that 1 1 2 1 1 2 all the way around. When you land on the marker, you'll be putting in 2 single crochets. So let's do the first couple sets and then I'll leave you on your own. That was 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and 2 into the third. Repeating that sequence, 1 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet in the second, and 2 single crochets into the third. Now I'll leave you on your own. Just keep repeating that 1 1 2 1 1 2. When you land on the marker, you'll be putting in 2 single crochets. So you can pause the video and meet me back here when you land on the marker. Alright guys, all finished row 4, and now we have 24 stitches around. Let's move our marker. Rows 5 through 9 is 1 single crochet in each one of those 24 stitches for 5 rows. So you can pause the video and carry on and meet me back here at the end of row 9. If you don't want to keep track as you're going along, put a notepad beside you. Every time you move this marker, put a notch on your notepad. When you have 5 notches, we'll meet back here. Every time you land on the marker, you should be putting in 1 single crochet. So again, 1 single crochet in each one of those 24 stitches for 5 rows. Alright my friends, we're at the end of row 9, and if you've lost track, you can count the rings and see where you're at. Count behind your last stitch that you just put in, so anywhere behind here, and we're going to count the rings. You should have 9 of these. And we start down here at the center hole of row 1. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're at the end of row 9. Now we're ready to move on to row 10, and this row we're going to start decreasing the round, and we decrease by crocheting 2 stitches together. And I'm going to walk you through this row. So row 10 is 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. There's 1, 2, and then we're going to crochet 2 stitches together, and we're going to repeat all the way around. When we land on the marker, we'll be crocheting 2 stitches together. So 1 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet into the second. Now we crochet 2 stitches together. So go into the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, leave that loop on your hook and go into the next one. Grab the yarn, pull it through. Now we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Now we've just turned 2 stitches into 1. Now we repeat that sequence, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and now crochet 2 stitches together. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Now for some people, they'll start to see gaps along the way when they're decreasing, so you can eliminate that by crocheting either in the front loop, that's the one closest to you, or the back loop, and that's the one furthest from you. So let's do it together. 1 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet into the second, and now we're going to do an invisible decrease by crocheting in the front loops only, or the back loops, whichever one you choose. So we're just working in 1 loop. Go through, grab your yarn, pull it through that loop, go in the next front loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that was the invisible decrease. So let's try it in the back loops now. 1 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet in the second, and now we're going to crochet 2 back loops together. So you just find the method that works easiest for you and use that. And if you don't see gaps while you're crocheting, don't worry about it. I never use that invisible decrease myself because I never see gaps. So it's only for those of you who see gaps in their work. So there's 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and now we're going to crochet 2 together. So let's finish off this row together. 1 single crochet in the first, 1 single crochet in the second. Now we're going to crochet 2 together, and it's going to land on that marker, so I'll pull it out and crochet 2 stitches together. We're finished row 10, and now we have 18 stitches around. We decrease that row by 6 stitches. Alright guys, before we carry on to row 11, this is the time to put in your safety eyes if you are using them. I'm using 7mm for both these guys, depending on which one you're making. I'm using 7mm. Of course you can play around with sizes, it's totally up to you. That was just a personal preference for me. And the eyes for both the wizard and the gnome go in between the 8th and 9th row, and I count from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So you can see they're in between the 8th and 9th row, and there's 4 visible stitch holes between them. And that's for both the gnome and the wizard doll. And depending on which kind of backs you have for yours, they do come with either metal backs or plastic backs. The ones with plastic backs usually require a special tool to install them. So if I was to install these right now, see my last stitch, I would make that the center in the back. So this would be the front of my doll. And then I'd count from up here. I just count the rings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So in between there. And 4 visible stitch holes between them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'd put it on the other side of number 4. So you can see 4 visible stitch holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you would just turn it and attach your backs. Alright, so you can go ahead and do that, pause the video, and when you're ready to carry on to row 11, then hit play again. I'm going to move my marker. Alright guys, now we're going to move on to row 11. We're going to decrease the round again. This row, 1 single crochet in the first, and then crochet 2 together, and repeat all the way around. When we land on the marker, we'll be crocheting 2 stitches together. So 1 single crochet in the first, and then 2 stitches together. So now we repeat that sequence, 1 single crochet, and then 2 stitches together. So now you just keep repeating. And if you see gaps, remember you can crochet either in the front loops or the back loops when you crochet 2 together. And now we're finished row 11, and now we're down to 12 stitches around. Alright guys, we're going to end the video here. So this is the end of part 1. In part 2, we're going to switch colors. And we're going to start with row 12. So it doesn't matter which doll that you're making. We're going to go from the skin color to the shirt color or the robe color, whichever doll you're making. And we'll do that in part 2. And that video should be popping up on your screen right about now. So I'm going to grab my crochet hook, and I'll meet you over there.